Dragon Ball Super Broly, over half of what was written ended up being left on the cutting room floor, according to rumors. This means that there must be tons of things that we missed out on that didn't make it into the story we know. What if we got to see a little more of Planet Vegeta and the inner workings of the Saiyan people? A long time ago, the Saiyans lived on planet Sadala. In those primitive times, the Saiyans, represented by Yamoshi, were fighting against the royal caste led by King Shioda. Following their confrontation, the planet was destroyed and only elite members and their children could escape the destruction of their world. The Saiyans then arrived on Planet ruled by the Tuffles, who were very advanced technologically. These people held the Saiyans in respect, although the latter regularly wished to exterminate them in order to possess the planet for themselves. King Vegeta II managed to eliminate them with his army and renamed the planet after himself. They took the Tuffle technology, but were not developed enough to know how to use it properly. King Cold discovered the Saiyans and offered them to join his army. They could fight on many worlds in exchange for the Tuffle technology. After many years of ruling the universe and the Saiyan people, Cold transferred his empire to his son Frieza. After discovering their legends, he secretly began to fear them. He still considered the Saiyans as an important part of his army, but commanded his scientists to inform him of all discoveries they would make about this race. At the beginning of his reign, King Vegeta III thought of eliminating Frieza's family in order to recover the independence of his people. But having understood his powerlessness, he preferred to wait until his son grew older, seeing him as the legendary Super Saiyan who could eliminate the tyrants and rule the universe in their place. Southern Galaxy, Planet Frieza 37. While the exact year is unknown, this should take place a little before the events of Dragon Ball Super Broly. A henchman enters the room to address Lord Frieza, preemptively requesting his forgiveness for disturbing him, but Frieza himself sips from a glass. Without facing the soldier, he raises his head and grumbles for him to hurry up and say what he has to. Stammering, the man goes on to alert that the science section wishes to speak to him about the Saiyans. But the Saiyans? What could this possibly be about? He takes no time in hightailing it to get a better understanding of the situation. In person, he commands the scientists to explain to him what they wanted to see him for. Pleased to see his ruler, a character the same race as a pool, who we'll call Jeff. For the time being, he reminds that they were instructed to warn Frieza directly if they made any discoveries about the Saiyan race. It turns out that they found some incredible features. To put it bluntly, they're outright terrifying. These people have particular features never before seen in other species, ushering him to see it for himself. We're brought to two Saiyans on a monitor. One label reads Zenkai, and the other Akari. Naturally, Zenkai is the boost that Saiyans get after a near-death experience. But Akari hasn't been explained in full detail, but it's speculated to be like the Ozaru state, or the Ozaru-like state of going completely berserk in a state of wrath. We can let this definition develop as the story does. Frieza walks over to the monitors to take a look. The scientist continues that here are two specimens observed recently. The first has seen his combat units improve every time he comes close to death, and the second has managed to channel his Ozaru form without any transformation. And the Saiyans he just now saw are only low-class warriors. For example, this Saiyan on the other hand. Bringing up old footage of Bardock. Jeff elaborates how these pictures were taken on Planet Serial some time ago by one of their mini spy robots. This was during the conquest of the planet itself. The Saiyan's anger awakened to a strange power. He even managed to stand up to gas of the Heater family. Moreover, the drone recording this also confirmed the betrayal of Elec, as they suspected. The Emperor merely listens in silence. To keep it simple, the Saiyans are becoming more and more of a big problem as time goes on. Remembering back to what that insufferable cat had to say, Frieza remembers that he was instructed to destroy that planet of monkeys for him, or face the god's wrath himself. With this decision an easy one to make, now is the time to put an end to the existence of these monkeys. He will eliminate the Saiyan race from this universe. On Planet Zahis, blasting away his opponents, Bardock cackles for them all to die. The elite Bardock team was sent to conquer an S-rank planet per Frieza's orders. He's faced with one of the creatures that we see in the Dragon Ball Minus special. After tearing through all of his buddies, the Saiyan scoffs for this latest filthy toad to bring it on. Amidst their slaughter, Pomakin questions Bardock why Gine doesn't come on their missions anymore. Who explains that since the birth of Kakarot, she stays on Planet Vegeta to take care of him and prepare the military rations. Totepo adds that these massacres aren't very much fun without Gine with them nowadays. When Leak Shouter chimes out, a message is transmitted to him with new orders. They are now to return to Planet Vegeta immediately. Frieza has ordered the full return of all the Saiyans. Though immediately unfooled, Bardock already shows his concern as to what this could mean. Back on their ship, Leak pilots and elaborates that according to the information he's obtained, every Saiyan has to go back to Planet Vegeta, except their own squad. Well, everybody save himself has been ordered on a special mission first thing tomorrow morning. But he's furious as to why only he must remain on Planet Vegeta. He doesn't understand these ridiculous orders, causing Bardock to wisely suggest that he turn off his scouter. He might hear them. He too believes all of this to be very strange. If Frieza has something to tell them, why would he want to see him instead of just sending a message? Clearly, the Saiyan is uneasy about what's to come. Back on Planet Vegeta, several spaceships make their re-entry. As the two fighters make their way home, they encounter a man named Taro. He joyfully chortles that he's glad to see Bardock still alive, but not Leak apparently. All business. Bardock only questions if he's heard anything about the reasons for the lockdown. But alas, no. Though it could just be he found a really interesting planet that he needs them all to take over. Who knows? However, Frieza's soldiers have been asking questions about the Super Saiyan. The Super Saiyan? Like the one in the legend? The conversation tapers off and we find ourselves with Gine. Of course, holding down the fort until her partner returns. And speak of the devil, the warrior announces his arrival much to the excitement of his wife. He's finally home. Embracing each other, she inquires how the mission went. Which, good, for the most part. Although he is a bit frustrated that they had to be brought back before finishing up what they are assigned to do. Detracting from her question, he beckons if Raditz is here. Chortling out with pride, Gine chuckles that he was sent on a mission with the prince. With Prince Vegeta? That kid's unbearable. Likely, Bardock is familiar with the snobby antics of the young royal. It's worth noting that even as a kid, Vegeta was nothing to scoff at. As just a child, he was a force to be reckoned with. As for Kakarot, is he still in his incubator? Who appears to be so, peacefully floating in a state of stasis. Nevertheless, the same feeling he's had since being summoned back to the planet overwhelms him. Tonight, he's going to steal a capsule. They will send him to another planet. But what? Why now? He's too young for any such mission, and becoming an emissary, or essentially a diplomat, is too dangerous, especially with his confinement imposed by Frieza. Stern with his reasoning, Bardock is certain that this is for his own good. Frieza is up to something and he feels the imminent danger of death. That evening, the young Kakarot was sent to Earth. The author suggesting that the reader check out Jocko the Galactic Patrolman for more information. Something I also suggest to any Dragon Ball fan. Taking off into the night sky, Gine cries that she really hopes her husband knows what he's doing. He tells her not to worry. If he's wrong, they will get him back within a year. She questions if he really has to go on a mission tomorrow, which is the case. He and his squad are the only ones allowed to leave, so he won't be able to see Raditz upon his return. They don't even know specifically what the mission entails, but even Leak was ordered to stay here. Not long later, with Gine sobbing herself to sleep, Bardock stands awake trying to make heads or tails about this order. This whole situation is strange. Is he really the only one who feels this danger? Maybe he's just getting paranoid. But no, of course there's a problem. In any case, he has to protect what's dear to him. Flashing back to when Granola's mother was assassinated, we can see the same happening to Gine. He remembers Ella hissing that they don't know what Frieza's really planning, do they? The Saiyans may just end up with a surprise meteorite on their heads if he dawdles. Not only does this alert Bardock to Frieza's sinister intentions, but this could also be what was taken as an act of betrayal by Jeff, Frieza's scientist. While this seems to be pretty clear, being too close to the elephant sometimes means you can't see the elephant. But he doesn't trust Frieza, and these new developments have only reinforced his fears. The fact is, he doesn't really know what to do or think. But he has to relax. He's going on a mission in the morning. Looking over to his armor, he knows how to remedy at least one thing for now. Grabbing an unbroken set, he's happy to see nothing beats the old model armor. The next morning around 8:30 a.m., we're taken to the capsule airport. Beating him there is his entire squad. Celepa comments that this is kind of weird. The boss isn't usually late. Pumpkin jokes that he must be enjoying some last-minute alone time with Gine, causing Toma to continue with the jokes. Or maybe not, with a chirp that he shouldn't say that. He'll make Celepa jealous. Though alas, everyone can calm down. Bardock is finally here. Still getting his uniform together, he apologizes for the delay. It was a long night. Ready to go. Hine rushes to stop him. What is she doing here? Asking what this is all about, she fears they made a big mistake yesterday. Something might happen to Kakarot. She should join him. Imagine if the Galactic Patrol spots him. Who warns her, for God's sake, keep her voice down. Listen. Holding her, he reminds that she is not in any way allowed to leave the planet. She will be killed. Then they'll trace Kakarot and kill him too. She needs to trust him on this. She doesn't need to be afraid. And tell Raditz the same when she sees him. While it's eating her up on the inside, she trusts her husband. She agrees to listen before cheering him on to go conquer that planet. Who assures she can consider it done. Of course, this leads to a few jabs from his squad mates. Toma, or Tora, whichever you prefer, jostles if his boss is okay. Doesn't he miss his clingy wife already? Not appreciating this rousing. Oh, Gine, my love! I'll miss you so much!
Bardock, my little sugar!
Having had enough of the not fighting, Pumpkin wants to know if they're going or not. And yeah, they're going right now. With the ships taking off, Bardock wants to warn everybody now that he doesn't want to waste any of his time. So they're going in guns blazing and wants a quick and efficient cleanup. They arrive on a night with a full moon, so they'll use that to their advantage. As Frieza's ship ominously hovers over Planet Vegeta, he beckons Zarbon to tell him something. How long will it be before the Saiyans are in the majority on Planet Vegeta? Who's positive that it'll take close to only a month? Dodoria chimes in to say that the Saiyans are a majority part of the army his father left him. Canceling their missions to eliminate him will greatly decrease the number of conquests. A fact the Tyrant is well aware of. Addressing Zarbon yet again, he commands him to lead a recruitment session. He wants 200 new soldiers by the end of the week. He's also to mobilize all resting agents in the Ginyu Commando and send them on a mission of conquest. Shortly after these instructions, a young Vegeta enters. Dodoria demands to know who allowed him in here. Though very formal for his young age given his prestige, he merely utters that he's come to address His Majesty Frieza. Who, as one can expect, doesn't even bother turning to face him. He coldly questions what Vegeta wants from him. As he begins to meekly utter his concern, he tells how he and his team just finished their mission on the Megmani planet when they received the order to return. However, they're bored on their own planet now. He would like to ask if he'd be willing to let them go back on their mission as an exception. He knows it's against his order, but he saw the Bardock squad had been given a dispensation. He thought he might do them the same favor. Retorting that this is quite the bold request out of the prince. Fine, he'll allow it. He and his team can leave for Planet Meat. It's an S-ranked planet, a formality for the prince normally. Bowing and thanking his overlord.
Here's our young prince again!
Rejoining the Saiyans we spotted Vegeta with in the Broly movie. The one on the right wants to know what he told him. Prompting a sort of smirk, he tells him to get ready. They leave for Planet Meat in an hour. Moments after the Saiyan King's son leaves the room, Frieza makes an abrupt decision about something. Don't send anyone to eliminate his team. On second thought, he's going to keep this little group under his command. Just this one. Little known to the Emperor at the time, he would go out of his way to obliterate the entire Saiyan race, but sparing this one single child would prove to encapsulate the phrase, self-fulfilling prophecy, even if not at the hands of this Saiyan directly. Speaking of which, his lesser queries what to do with the Saiyans who are too far away to return in time, as well as those who have not been sent the return order. Eliminate them too, discreetly. They're useless and there are females in these teams. He doesn't want them to reproduce. If only Frieza knew the potential of half-Saiyans. Dodoria then interjects to mention that they have also, as Vegeta said, sent the Bardock squad on a mission to Kanasa, but his lord doesn't seem to want to keep them under his commands. And indeed, their squad contains a female. He was just about to ask him, and it would be a pleasure to humiliate the Saiyan's most efficient squad, bringing Frieza to congratulate his grunt's deductive mind. He then instructs him to get on with his task, and in a month's time, they'll send their own men to decimate the population of Planet Vegeta for resale. Bringing up an interesting point. In the original story, when the thought first arose for him in destroying the Saiyans, why wouldn't he simply plan a ground invasion? His business is decimating and selling planets. So while we know he feared the Super Saiyan legend to some degree, one would have to assume that being so willing to blow up a potential sale means he feared Saiyan potential so much, he wasn't willing to chance provoking and encountering the one who could challenge him. Leaving us with the scene of Bardock's crew heading off to arrive at their destination in 9 days. Coming out of stasis, we fast forward right up to the landing, and the native inhabitants becoming aware of the incoming threat. In one night, the group of Saiyans had wiped out almost the entire population. As a survivor begs and pleads for his life, Bardock snarkily commands Tora to put Grandpa Turtle here on the back burner. Doing so, that was the last of them and their dirty faces. Normally, this would be the point in the Bardock Father of Goku OVA that the defeated Kanasian would get in a sneak attack and either gift or curse Bardock with the ability to see the future. But speaking of dirty faces, Pumbukin inquires Totepa where a scouter went, who claims to have lost it in the heat of the moment. Their superiors are gonna yell at him again. When the most powerful, uniquely gifted pink character in the series, who probably also really likes candy, chortles out,
Don't worry, we won't hold it against you.
he won't ever need it again once he's gone to Otherworld anyway. But Dodoria, what's he doing here? Pumbukin trying to get him to elaborate.
Hadouken!
Chaos and confusion engulfs the gang, wondering what's wrong with them. Bardock already knows what this is the beginning of.
I see you!
As Bardock and Celepa coordinate to attack together.
Now!
Their allies falling one by one. Tora screams to know why he's attacking them. Ooh, unaffected by the blast, snarls that he's so naive, only offering silence and a chuckle as an explanation. Bardock narrows his eyes and dares the minion to say it. Frieza sent him, didn't he? A claim his Saiyan comrades don't want to believe. With this guess, Doria figures the jig is up. Once again, he's come too close to the fire. They're aware of his actions on Planet Cereal, and if he hadn't taught them what Elec was up to, he would have been court-martialed already. In any case, his little family was already doomed. He seems to be getting a little too soft around him. Besides, this was just the last straw for a Saiyan like him, as it caused a decrease in efficiency in doing Frieza's bidding. But it also turns out the Saiyans in general are irritating Lord Frieza more and more. So he considers now's the time to put an end to his primitive species.
Bastard! What?
As their squad leader falls to Dodoria, Tora screams out after him. He's going to pay for his betrayal. Easily taking out Bardock's best friend. Looks like there's only one left. Celepa shouts out for this disgusting pig to not come near her. Contacting the base, he informs Zarbon that he's finished the task, who exclaims that's excellent news. Frieza's waiting for him on the ship to begin the attack on Planet Vegeta. By the way, did everything go well during his mission? Which prompts a vaguely familiar
Complete annihilation.
with the fall of Bardock and his men. How will this impact the story we know? Is this a surprise twist that removes Bardock from the story earlier than expected? Or is he still alive and planning to inform the others? Meanwhile, Cooler's Armored Squadron makes a surprise appearance as Nice explains they've arrived in the upper atmosphere of Planet Vegeta. His leader compliments him on this. He's convinced his brother's army won't be able to defeat the Saiyans. If they manage to rebel and kill him, he will blow up their planet and take back his territory. If, however, Frieza himself decides on his own to exterminate them, then at least he'll see some fireworks. Above all, leave the ship in stealth mode. Obviously, they don't want him to know they're here. Not only does this explain our question about the ground invasion from before, but also why Cooler happened to be in the area during the time of Planet Vegeta's destruction in Dragon Ball Z. Cooler is just as cold-hearted and power-hungry as his brother. Continuing, he mentions how if they were to be discovered, he'd report it to their father and they'd be in serious trouble. Jumping back to Frieza's ship, a voice calls out for him. Kikino. He tells how the reports from the Inquisitors are in, with the exception of Prince Tarbell, who remains unaccounted for. All off-planet Saiyans have been eliminated. They have therefore sent agents Abo and Kato to find him. This is a callback to Yo, Son Goku and his friends return, where we meet Vegeta's brother after so many years. Speaking over him, Zarbon mentions that Dodoria has completed his mission and is returning to the ship, much to the satisfaction of his master. Frieza rabbles how Lord Beerus wanted him to destroy the planet, but he wouldn't hold it against him if he decided to eliminate the Saiyans and sell it instead. After all, it's the people who are the problem, not the world they reside on. As our insight into Frieza and the lore of Dragon Ball continues to connect itself, what else will we uncover in what is essentially a director's cut of Dragon Ball Super Broly? On planet Kanasa, picking himself up from the dusty ground, Bardock grimaces, feeling a sharp sting of pain coursing through his battered body. Before even opening his eyes to gauge his surroundings, he realizes with a clarity that cuts deeper than his physical wounds what is painfully obvious to us. Dodoria definitely didn't miss with that last attack. His vision blurs momentarily with blood running down his face as he regains his bearings. The desolate landscape of a forgotten planet littered with the remnants of a battle recently fought. He clutches his side, feeling a warm trickle of blood seeping through his fingers. Through the confusion, he still knows he doesn't have much time. Scanning the horizon, the setting sun casts a long, ominous shadow across the land, mirroring the darkness slowly creeping into him. When he hears his name faintly uttered from not far away, he takes Tora in his arms as his life fades away. Barely able to speak, he enunciates that he must warn the king. Their people are in danger. He trusts him. Assemble an army and avenge his crew, even if it's just for pity's sake. This is when Bardock reveals that he knew Frieza was up to something. They must act quickly, but how do they contact the palace? Before spotting Tetepo Scouter, as mentioned before, he had lost it during the initial invasion of Kanasa. Strapping it on, it still works. He dials into the royal palace beckoning if they can hear him. Bringing us to an anime-only character named Zorn. He appeared only once in one of Frieza's flashbacks. He inquires what he can do for Bardock. He cuts right to the chase, hollering for him to listen. Frieza has betrayed the Saiyans. They must assemble an army and eliminate him quickly. Of course, this sounds crazy on a multitude of levels. Zorn asks if he can be sure of what he's telling him, causing the rebel to scream back, obviously! He sent Dodoria to eliminate them! And if that were the case, Zorn doubts Bardock would still be alive to contact them. Nobody likes Lord Frieza, but they can't take it out on him like this. Bardock knows the repercussions it would have on their people if he or his father were to lose their temper. This refusal to accept Bardock at his word leads the Saiyan to decide that he has to manage on his own. He vows to Frieza that he's on his way. On Planet Vegeta, in the king's palace, Zorn rushes to address his king. He explains that it seems Bardock has gone mad. He claims that Frieza has betrayed them and sent Dodoria to decimate his team. Clearly concerning news to the royal as he stands to question where he is now. And that's the fun part. As his accusations were unfounded, Zorn himself cut off communication with him. He's probably still on planet Ganasa. Very unwelcome news to his opposite. Frieza didn't want to tell him the reasons for his confinement, but the king also had a feeling he was up to something. Bardock must have drawn on his last reserve of strength to contact them, and must be dead by now. He demands his underling to get his shuttle ready. He will definitely take care of Frieza. Back with, Barry Blue comments that the men are ready to take over the planet. And just in time, Dodoria enters announcing his return. With that, they can get started. When a henchman rushes in and alerts that King Vegeta has entered the ship and is forcing his way through. To which, Frieza only rolls his eyes that you always need a party pooper. He instructs him to open the door. They're about to spend their last meeting together. Furious, Vegeta bellows out that he's going to kill him and eliminate his father. Only to be met with the same smug look on his overlord's face. The Primate King's insubordination is appalling.
Breaking news!
Mediocre YouTuber Mondo Cool was betrayed and attacked by his own left lung, causing a tear in the muscle tissue around the ribcage. As a result, the remainder of his character lines for this video will be performed by much more handsome YouTuber Paul Rising Fish.
Die! I'm the king of the Saiyans. You're nothing but a parasite.
Given the Frost Demon already knows the power difference between the two, he offers that if it's of any consolation, this parasite will take good care of his son once he kills him. He's always dreamt of having a pet monkey.
You filthy!
At the literal point of a finger, the king falls. The villain takes the opportunity to make a point to Zarbon. As he can see, there's no need for transformation, something the henchman must have mentioned to him before. So now, send the men to conquer the planet, prompting his lesser to all strickingly comply. On the planet below, it's only now that the powers that be are aware of the betrayal. Not only that, if this is happening, that must mean the king has failed. But they will not be invaded. Zorn commands his soldiers to show that tyrant their might, as various other Saiyans have to find out what's happening the hard way. A group of uniformed troops stand in formation, ready to eliminate all in sight. A uniquely designed soldier approaches Frieza to inform that the Saiyans are putting up better resistance than expected, leading to a jubilant chuckle that they'll tire themselves out soon enough. Either way, the Saiyans are outnumbered and they have the advantage. Little to his knowledge. Bardock is rushing back to his home world. Realizing Frieza's already here, he knows he's gotta hurry. A particularly rapey soldier approaches the Saiyan woman, creepily chuckling for her to give him a cuddle. Gine. Before he can take another step, Bardock appears behind him, causing him far less pain than he deserved and alleviating him the burden of life. He questions his wife if she's alright. She's gotta get down to earth and join Kakarot. But what's he talking about? It's complete chaos here. Why didn't he go to him instead of coming back to this hell? And he thought about that. But if he doesn't eliminate Frieza, their kids will never be safe. Walking away, his pod is configured to not be detected by Frieza. She needs to take it and head for Earth, but avoid other ships like the Galactic Patrol which could detect her. Tearing up, she cries that when he's done with him, go get Raditz and join them on Earth. Again hearing his name called. Zarbon alerts of an elite level Saiyan approaching, and he's shouting specifically Frieza's name. Reports indicate that this is the warrior Bardock, causing a particular sphincter and plead for forgiveness. He was sure he eliminated him. He'll go correct this right away. However, his master relents that there's no need to. He will stay here. Their men are too slow and inefficient anyway. He's going to destroy this planet once and for all. Sure enough, a scene we've witnessed a few times through the series plays out again. There you are! Gine launches into space with the hope of seeing her youngest son again. Unfortunately, Salza spots a capsule that seems to have escaped the radar of Frieza's ship. He questions Cooler if he'd like him to blow it up, with a sneer having to repeat himself. If they shot it, they would be detected by Frieza, but they can't let a single Saiyan get away. He wants them to deactivate the capsule remotely. The gravitational pull will return it to its own planet. While their ship continues to soar out of the atmosphere, a sense of calm flows over Gine as Frieza's ship didn't detect her, just as expected. Why did she stop moving? Being pulled back to Planet Vegeta. She's going to crash! Stumbling out. Looks like attack balls have to land a certain way to not injure their occupant. Though asking herself what happened, at least she landed away from the melee. Bardock and Frieza engage in a short conversation. The former wants to know why he's picking on the Saiyans. He's afraid of the legendary Super Saiyan, isn't he? Though he isn't in the mood nor doesn't have time for this useless blah blah blah, as he powers up the blast that'll end the Saiyan race. In vain, Bardock vows that in the name of his pride, his family, and his people, Frieza's going to die!
What? Frieza!
While going Super Saiyan, Bardock doesn't appear to be in space anymore. What's going on? Where is he? And he wonders what this light is that encompasses him. It feels good. He tries to gather himself. He was fighting Frieza and ended up here. Wouldn't he be dead? Would this place be Otherworld? As he sees something that takes his full attention. This guy, who is he? It looks like he's fighting Frieza, but he looks different. Stepping over to him, Raditz chuckles that he can't even recognize his own children anymore, can he? He's not in Otherworld, but he's not in the world of the living either. A statement that's a bit of a shock to our protagonist. Gine enters to mention that it seems that time here is infinite and ephemeral at the same time, but the universe offers them a magnificent gift nonetheless. What she's saying is that this is a realm that doesn't adhere to our understanding of theoretical dimensions of time and space. Although I'm no Neil Hawkingstein. She tells them to look to the future of their son and the legacy he'll pass on. He'll leave and avenge their people. Their little Kakarot is about to become the most powerful and inspiring of men. When a version of Goku wearing the same gi we've seen him don in his later years places a hand on his father's shoulder, he assures him not to worry. He'll take care of the rest. Giving Bardock optimism for the future as he thanks him. Unable to escape Planet Vegeta, Gine is helpless to stop the incoming blast. She apologizes to her family as she too fades away. On the bridge of his mothership, Cooler, a figure of calm authority amidst the flurry of activity around him, stands just off screen. His men operate the controls as he monitors the ongoing battle. Suddenly, an officer shouts towards Cooler with a hint of apprehension in his voice. "Lord Cooler," he begins hesitantly. "We have just received word. Your brother destroyed Planet Vegeta. Do you still want to destroy his ship and take back his territory?" Cooler's expression remains unreadable, his icy demeanor portraying no hint of surprise or concern. He contemplates this news, his mind racing through the implications. Planet Vegeta, the heart of Saiyan power, is now nothing but dust floating through the cosmos. Without turning, he utters a piercing "No," his voice carrying the weight of command. Let Frieza have his moment of triumph. His arrogance will be his downfall. He pauses, then adds with a calculating tone, "We can't afford to leave traces of our involvement in this sector. No, let's leave before he realizes we're here." They return to their duties, executing Cooler's plan with renewed urgency. Cooler himself focuses back to the vast expanse of space visible on the bridge, his thoughts shrouded in a darkness as deep as the void before him. By acting so impulsively, Frieza has shown his hand, he muses, his voice a low rumble. Such recklessness. It's unbecoming of a true leader. He let his emotions guide his actions, blinded by his own arrogance. He turns away from the view, pacing slowly across the bridge. Frieza's downfall is inevitable, he continues. And when he falls, it'll be because he's become entangled in his own game, a web of his own making. On the other ship, Zarbon pings Frieza about to inform the survivors of the destruction. Of course, this means Vegeta and his crew, who take the news about as one would expect. This is where the story of the meteorite seems to get its origin. Possibly just something Zarbon whipped up. Young Raditz just figures it's a good thing they didn't listen to King Vegeta's order to return home, prompting young Vegeta to agree. Except now that that idiot's dead, he'll never be crowned king. Nappa stagnates that he still is the prince of their people. However, not all of them feel the same about this. One of the unnamed Saiyans, which now that I think of it is probably why he continued to go unnamed, knows that there's no way he's still gonna take orders from this kid. Aloud, he asks, didn't they both have brothers who had been sent to other planets? Raditz replies, yeah, his brother Kakarot. His mother told him she sent him to a planet called Earth, but didn't give him the reasons why. Even though he's very weak, knowing his father, he probably wanted to send him on a mission as soon as possible. And with a hiss from Vegeta, his brother was so weak his father exiled him somewhere. He's probably dead by now. Meanwhile, at the capital planet of the King Cold Empire, a familiar boot hits the ground as a voice states that Lord Cold asked to see him. And indeed, he thanks the general for his promptness. Unveiling Turles, or as I used to accentedly call him, Turles, the Imperial General of the King Cold Empire. He mentions that he came as fast as he could. He and his team have completed the conquest of the planet Gival. There, they discovered a tree with strange fruits that could be beneficial to their army. These fruits are abruptly rising from his seat. General Turles, King Cold begins with his voice echoing. I have always appreciated your loyalty and the exceptional work you have done. However, Cold continues, the tone of his voice shifting. I am not interested in your fruit. There are matters of greater importance we must address. It has come to my attention that your king, in a brazen act of treachery, attempted to overthrow my son Frieza. Such betrayal cannot be overlooked, and it forced him to take drastic action against the Saiyan people. He was forced to eliminate the Saiyan race barring a small group. Unfortunately, General, you are not among this group. He acknowledges his respect for Turles as his general, but he respects his own bloodline much more, which is why he must now get rid of him. But what? He thought his planet had been destroyed by a meteorite. Turles balks, a surge of desperation gripping him. He turns back to King Cold, a plea etched into his person. Lord Cold, he implores, his voice strained with emotion but laced with a hint of resolve. We both know the true reason behind the extermination of the Saiyans. It wasn't just the treachery of our king. Frieza feared the legends, the stories of the Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan God. Stepping forward, his determination growing. I have no intention of revealing Frieza's actions or his fears to the survivors. My loyalty has always been to you and your empire. In all of my years of service, I kept my word, followed your commands without question. King Cold's expression suddenly hardens, his eyes narrowing into icy slits. The temperature in the room even seems to drop as his voice turns sharp, laced with a dangerous edge. The Saiyan's pleas have been taken less for what they are and more of an insult. Would you dare suggest my son Frieza has lost his sanity over a mere legend? That he fears tales told to Saiyan children to inspire bravery? Don't complain. Your fate is already decided. The great General Turles will be granted the same funeral ceremony as a soldier who died heroically in the line of duty. Sure, your body will perish, but the inspiration of General Turles will live on. But is he kidding him? He's been loyal to him all these years, and now he's just going to eliminate him because his capricious little princess decided to make a vile, rash decision? He says he doesn't care about the fruits of the last mission. Well, look at their powers! Lord Gold, are you okay? As we were already aware, even at his full power, Turles isn't a match for Cold. He tells his men to send him back to his team, destroy their capsules and cut off their scouters, then eliminate them. He refuses to get his hands dirty for a common monkey. Back on planet Gival, where the Triamite was found, Turles' squad chatters how their boss has been gone for a while now, when one of the twins spots an Imperial capsule. Aboard, Hench number 1 is skeptical about just throwing him away to the world below. Cold said he wanted him eliminated, right? But does he think they're capable of taking out these guys? Records show that a strange tree is consuming the planet. Within 3 days, it'll be gone and they along with it. They need to get out of here before they get him. Seeing the ship leave, as well as their last chance off this planet for a good while. Looks like Cold roughed up the Saiyan enough for him to momentarily be too weak to take on the grunts. He turns to his men. Their expression's a mix of confusion and concern. Listen up, Turles commands, his voice steady despite the disarray around him. The Cold Empire has betrayed us. They think we're dead, crushed under the heel of that bastard Cold. But they've underestimated us. The squad members gather around, their attention focused on Turles as he continues. We're going to build a ship from the remains of our capsules. We're leaving this forsaken planet as soon as possible. He gestures towards the distance, where the silhouette of a massive tree can be seen, its branches reaching towards the sky. And we're taking with us the fruits of the Tree of Might. These will be our key to power, to survival. We will travel through space and strengthen ourselves, forging our own empire in secrecy. And when the time is right, we will take our revenge on Cold. But first, Turles adds, we must find warriors, strong and willing, to rally to our cause. We will build an army, an unstoppable force that will one day challenge the empire that dared to cast us aside. Quite the intricate plan he just came up with in the last 5 minutes. Maybe Cold was right after all. On the celestial dwarf Vampa, we find Kid Broly living his best life. Though like most Saiyans, his father is rather allergic to joy. As the boy stumps over, Paragus scolds, "What did I tell you before?" This creature is supposed to be his training ground, not his friend. Again shooting the creature. Paragus believes this will make it hate the two of them and it'll try to kill him again. Broly must understand. His goal is to avenge them on that accursed King Vegeta. When he's ready and someone has intercepted their signal, they'll return to the planet and Broly will become the new king of the galaxy. Even Cold and Frieza will be no match for him. Now stop acting up and stay put. They're not done yet. And in a bit of a surprise appearance, we're greeted with Babidi's ship. One of his Zunian servants informs that the planet of warriors he wanted to control has mysteriously disappeared. But what? Those dang Saiyan warriors would have been a huge asset to his army. New plan, head for the Demon Realm. Which is too bad. A Frieza vs. Babidi arc would have been pretty cool to see. Then with King Kai about a couple decades before we'd usually meet him, he senses that a planet just exploded. Feeling it out, he can see that it's Frieza's doing. He thought Lord Beerus had decided to take care of the Saiyans himself. Though it seems he's begun a nap, so that's pretty good news. The universe will finally enjoy a long period of peace. Then on planet Earth, year 740. An old man's day is interrupted by the sound of a feral child. Grah! What the? Grr! Draw! Look! Look! Dispatching the boy, Grandpa Gohan utters that he may look a little rough, but with his strength he could have killed someone. Luckily, he ran into him instead. And so, for many years, the pawns of destiny fell into place. As they were both unwilling to obey their de facto leader, we learn the fate of the other squad members of Vegeta's crew. The Emperor, who lived without expecting any consequences to come from his actions. The Prince, guided by his pride and still far away from the path of redemption. The Exiled, who could merely wait for their day to shine. And finally, the one who would one day change the face of the universe and unknowingly complete the battle of his father, Bardock.